CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Well, here we are. We're at SMRP number 33. It's 2025. We're in Fort Worth, Texas. And this is a cool little episode. We're on Friends of Nano. That's Nano Precise. And we put this whole thing together. And I want to shout out Kevin Clark and the whole team for doing that. All the sponsors. Reliability X is one of the main sponsors, brought this awesome rig. And this guy right here is Dan the Man Anderson. He's a CMRP, but guess what they announced this morning? He is now chairman of the board at SMRP. Dan Anderson, welcome back to CMMS Radio, but now we're right here in Texas.
Oh, Greg, it's so great to be back. So great to see you at the show. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you're doing in the maintenance and reliability community. It's just fantastic to see everybody again and get together. You know, we had that year reprieve from Hurricane Milton down there in Orlando, Florida. So here in Fort Worth, but just to be back together with all my friends and you, it's spectacular.
Yeah, it's always good to see you, and for me, it's my first, so it's kind of wild. I see people that I see at other conferences and people I talk to online, and then people that I don't know, and I get to finally experience this. Everybody, every year is like, you going to SMRP, you going to SMRP. Last year I thought about it, and I was like, I don't know if I can make it, and then it got canceled, so I'm like, well, at least everybody will be safe. And then a couple people were telling me, that's a bigger show this year, and I said, well, maybe because of last year, maybe because it's Texas. I don't know. I've been saying that on all the episodes because, I mean, Texas, right? They do it big. So I want to ask you a couple questions. You've been doing SMRP stuff for a long time, and I think you were vice chair, and now as of today, you're chairman. And I want to know two things at least. One, what does that really entail now that you've got that next level role as chairman of the board? And two, I probably should ask this first, what do you love so much about SMRP? Why is it important for the industry? All that kind of good stuff.
Two very good questions there, Greg. And, you know, I've been engaged with SMRP for, almost 20 years now. You know, started off as a committee chair, leading the communications committee or the editorial staff. We used to have a solutions magazine, and I enjoyed that so much, you know, just being able to network with folks and learn from them, solicit articles, you know, if I needed some for the magazine. That's moved to a digital form. But what I enjoy most about, you know, just being part of SMRP is just the knowledge sharing, right? You know, I'm so lucky. I get to learn from so many tenured individuals throughout the years, and SMRP has a wealth of that. So if you've never been to the conference, you know, you'll see that people are willing to share with you. There's a good sense of community here, and there's a tremendous amount of knowledge. So you can either get that by going through sessions or just, you know, the one-off conversations you have at the coffee stand or, you know, at the bar late at night, being able to talk to folks that, you know, have really driven reliability through their organizations. I'm honored and humbled to, you know, accept this chairman role. It's something that I've really aspired to do for a long, long time now. But, you know, to have the opportunity to lead in this capacity, and what that basically entails, Greg, is just, you know, hosting the meetings, hosting the board of directors meetings, understanding the ideas and the opportunities that we have out there to really collaborate with folks, other organizations around the globe, but then also provide value back to our members, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important, is being able to provide that value back to our membership through, you know, better tools, increasing our body of knowledge. You know, those types of things, I think, are most important when you're in this role.
So in that role, like when you do these meetings, and you don't have to tell me the frequency or anything like that, I'm sure it's all the time because there's so many different chapters across North America. Is that where you kind of leverage the chapters to be your boots on the ground, to kind of gather up all these different learnings regionally across the U.S. to then, well, shit, man, I should change that. You've got the national chapters like those Carolinas and, you know, Kansas and all these different ones, but isn't it also international now?
You know, we do have international chapters. The local chapters are a great resource for our membership because they can really kind of tie together folks on a local level, right? So you've got the national chapter, which generally is like the higher point within the organization that, you know, dictates the direction of the organization. But these local chapters, and you bring up a real good point there, Greg. You know, we're trying to get a little bit better at supporting our local chapters. They do have national chapters, right? So we've got a strong chapter down in Trinidad, Tobago. We've got ones, you know, over in Europe and in Africa as well, too, that are playing, you know, the real pivot points and bringing people together and having local resources for you to just reach out. You know, if you're having a problem, maybe staffing something or figuring a complex reliability problem out, and you know you don't feel comfortable maybe reaching to somebody out in California when you're here in the Carolinas, and you know you want to have that local resource that maybe you can go over and see how are you doing kitting within the organization, how effective is your planning and scheduling, you know, what are your reliability engineers doing at the end of the day, and actually see it without having to hop on a plane and fly, you know, 12 hours, but see it locally. I think that's where the real value comes. The good chapter leaders, and I've been talking a lot about that here at this show actually, are ones that, you know, maybe have a good speaker come in to kick off their meeting, have a plant tour where you actually see this, the reliability processes and these best practices in place within an organization. And so, you know, you're getting a lot from that. You know, you're getting a speaker who's local, you can call on at any time, but then also be able to put your hands on it and really, you know, get a focus on, you know, this is the way it should be running. There's nothing like visual representation when it comes to these things. You know, you can talk about it all day long, but to see it in action, that's where it's really taking place.
Yeah, you make a good point when we talk about these ideas behind learning. And look, I'm not a reliability professional. I'm like actually honored that I'm part of the community in some way, shape, or form, because I was basically grabbed and pulled in. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't do that. And they're like, you do. You just don't realize it. And this thing about sessions, workshops, presentations, when we get practitioners that have actually done something at their own facility and they're there sharing those stories, it has a greater impact because it kind of, well, I don't know if I'm putting this the right way, but almost brings it down to earth a little bit. And you've got these speakers at these local chapters that can tell you a real story about what they did where they are, not what they did for somebody, but what they did at their particular manufacturing environment or, you know, some other type of production. Who knows? But I think that's something that's really getting a lot more focus on how the customer story, the customer journey story that's applying these methodologies, maintenance and reliability best practices, for example, right? Shout out to Reliability X, Ramesh Gulati, and how those things can actually be done within your facility. That resonates with people in a slightly different way than when somebody's just telling you something because they wrote a book, right? It's nice when
it's definitely, it's that practical application, right? It's getting out there and showing that you can do it. Sometimes you get into these, like I've taught classes before, Greg, where you come in, you start talking about these philosophies and you're seeing people's eyes roll and it's like, oh, this is all great in concept, but it's never going to work here. It's never going to work here. And, you know, the two critical ingredients that I always see from organizations that are successful with this is it's got management commitment. It's being led from the top down. And there's a partnership between maintenance and operations. There's still this misnomer that, you know, it's, reliability, that's a maintenance thing. We have a reliability engineer, that's what he does. And at the end of the day, if you don't have that collaboration and everybody understand, what's in it for them, it's not going to work and it's not going to be effective. So reliability, and I see this more and more nowadays, which really inspires me, is used to say back in the 90s, hey, when you walk into a plant, you want everybody raising their hand saying, because back in the 80s, you go back and say, whose responsibility of safety? And you might get one or two people, but everybody raised their hand after a while in the 80s. It was like, safety is my responsibility. Now in 2025, you're seeing more and more people. You walk into a plant and say, who is responsible for reliability? And everybody should be raising their hands. And it's not a battle between maintenance and operations at the end of the day, where maintenance is looked upon as a service organization that comes out and fixes the machines. That operations group, they have to take ownership for that as well too. So that's what I really love seeing nowadays, is that people are really understanding and embracing that it's not just a single function within an organization. It's everybody's responsibility that they're more proactive and reliable for the sake of the business at the end of the day.
Now that right there is like the ultimate goal, because everybody's responsible for it, and now that's the way you really connect it to the business, not just with the numbers on the pages, but where you get everybody kind of moving in the same direction. And we talk about things, or I hear about things like blocking and tackling, and this concept with operations and maintenance, when they're kind of seeing one another and understanding one another and figuring that out. And you got maintenance coming over saying, hey, we need 3 hours over here, and they're actually saying no problem because they know why.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got something that you're really cooking with. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're chairman of the board now. It's 2025. We already know that it's going to be Raleigh, North Carolina next year. So between now and then, what happens as it relates to how you prepare and gear up for next year? Because you guys will get working on that right away. What kind of things do you expect will happen over the next several months that we could potentially look forward to? I'm not saying you know everything, but like, what are some of the goals that are right in front of you right now as an organization that you have to tackle and kind of bring into the fold and the mix for us all next year?
So, one of the primary things that we're doing is we're revamping our body of knowledge. You're going to see a lot of updating going on. We're releasing a micro-learning series associated with the body of knowledge. So that'll be unveiled out there. And basically it's going through right now. If you're trying to look at a key metric like mean time to failure or mean time to repair, you have to go to the website, download a PDF file and search through that. And it's usually a 200-page PDF file that, you have to do some searching. So nowadays you just don't have that type of flexibility with the type of technology that we have out there with AI and how information is absorbed at a moment's notice. So we're really trying to bring our body knowledge up to, 2025 standards. I think that's something that's exciting we got going on, and that'll be released throughout the year. One of the things that I'm particularly excited about is our partnership with the Institute of Asset Management, IAM. They're a European-based organization based out of the UK. And the asset management folks, the more I've worked with them, I've gotten the opportunity to go speak at their conference for the past 4 years and explain to them the mutual benefits associated with our MOU with IAM. And basically, SMRP members are entitled to IAM member benefits by being an SMRP member, and IAM members are entitled to SMRP benefits by being an IAM member. So there's a lot of reciprocated benefits between the two, and I think that what you'll see coming up in the 2026 show in Raleigh is that we're going to be highlighting a lot of that for the folks out there. I've been kind of carrying the flag from the SMRP side, but you see a lot of light bulbs go on when I talk to these IAM members and I say, hey, we at SMRP, you're entitled to our body of knowledge through this partnership. And And you start telling them a little bit about what we do and what that entails, and they get real excited about it. So the asset management and the reliability side are really blending together because they complement each other very well. Asset management being more of a policy and a strategic asset management plan, for your higher level C executive suite folks to develop an asset management strategy. When it starts to boil down, you're boiling up the SMRP body of knowledge, which is, for lack of a better term, more blue collar in nature. We deal with the maintenance and reliability folks and helping them to understand best practices. And the culmination between those two is very, very powerful. Just because at the end of the day, you got all the tools that you need in your tool belt to be successful, to be proactive in the way that you're managing assets, but then handling maintenance and reliability or operational reliability within the organization.
That's yet another way to get it more connected to the business, which everybody's trying to do from different directions. And
Yep.
I mean, sometimes people got to work from the inside out. So I think that's pretty cool. So I'll look forward to seeing that out in Raleigh, North Carolina. One last thing, and I'll let you get back to walking around and talking to people. And I know you got to get back over the booth for Reliability X and do your thing. When it comes to new things that are kind of, this is going to be a little racy, right? Shiny stuff.
Oh,
You mentioned AI already and all that kind of stuff. Do you think it's still a little bit too soon for everybody to be like all in on it, and we got to wait for the smoke to clear a little bit more?
Oof, wow. I think you get on board with it right now or you don't get on board with it. It's just something that's not going to go away for sure, Greg. And how do you go about approaching it, right? So it's a tool at the end of the day. At this point in time, it's a tool, and it's still human-led. And so the ideas that it's gathering when it comes to AI is just going to help you to do things more efficiently. My role as somebody right in the middle between the tech-infused generation and the hands-on practical skills generation is bringing them together through apprenticeship programs, through encouraging the younger folks to get engaged in organizations like SMRP, to bring their fresh, innovative ideas to the table, but then also, it's almost like a reverse apprenticeship, Greg. I'm not just saying like your traditional one where you say, hey, go walk around with the old guy and learn from him. It's got to be something where the older guy is learning from the younger guy, and the younger guy is learning from the older or gal. They're learning from each other, right? The guys and the gals are working together to advance that technology. And so I think that's what's real important right now. As we're going through this phase of it being kind of, is it going to stick? Is it not going to stick? It's sticking. And so you really can't deny that. You just have to be able to work in a world that adopts to the digital tools and make it attractive, make, the old rusty grease, hands-on. There's always going to be a world of that, and it needs to be attractive to that younger generation. But then we also need to integrate a lot of these new ideas and concepts into that whole methodology.
I like the way you put it, because we look around, we got a lot of technology, we got a lot of practitioners, we got old school, we got new school, lots of new blood. Some people have said they're seeing here, and for me, the AI thing, it's here. I want to keep an eye on it. I don't think it's an easy button. I don't think it's magic. I think it's going to be effective, and that'll continue to improve. I think it's still in the early days of what it's really going to become, and I think we have to bring those people along that are part of the old school and indoctrinate the young up-and-comers into some of that tribal knowledge, because we need it. We can't have that go away, and it will eventually start to blend. And I'm out here being a skeptic, and I mean that like as a way for people to just think, don't just lean on it so hard, but there's going to be better and better stuff. So man, Dan Anderson, the new chairman of the board of SMRP, thanks for being here with me on Friends of Nano. We're on the end cap here next to Nano Precise. And we got the laughing guy everybody keeps hearing. I don't know what that guy's doing. He's making me work, man. Thank you for
That
being
guy.
here with me, brother.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Greg. Thank you so much. You're a good friend, and certainly appreciate you being here. And as always, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.